One of the problems with recruiting for investment banking is not the knowledge or skills you acquire, but the access to talk with real investment bankers to put your best foot forward. Our sponsor, WSO Academy, can provide those connections with 60 head mentors who are finance professionals at top firms like Goldman, Centerview, and JP Morgan. Imagine being able to get on the phone within 24 hours with one of the Academy's 1,300 mentors right before a critical interview. Get on the waitlist for WSO Academy today by clicking the link in the show notes or by visiting wallstreetoasis.com/academy.
The day has finally arrived. Welcome to the Superday on Investment Banking Insights. All right. Welcome to Investment Banking Insights. This is the only show dedicated to helping you learn both the technical and non-technical aspects of the investment banking process. My name is Alex Mason and I am your host. And boy, it feels good to be back on the mic. I know I've been gone for a while. It's been a little bit different over here up in Ithaca in terms of my schedule. It just kind of went out the window. I had to kind of just completely revise my schedule just because of final exams here in the first semester of my MBA program, which thankfully are now complete, and also just other things going on related to the end of the year. So I had to take care of those things, but it feels really good to be back. And my plan here is to, of course, there's this episode today, and then we're also going to wrap up the Superday series. I have another episode planned related to this series that I'm going to release before the end of the year. And the plan is really just to have a few more episodes here in the next couple of weeks as I gear up for what the show is going to look like in 2024. So stay tuned for that. But let's go ahead and talk about the Superday, okay? So this is part 7 of our series. We've talked about what to do tactically in preparation. We've talked about all the research, but now the day is finally here. At this point, you've done all the prep work, you've practiced, you've studied, you've had so many conversations leading up to this moment. Now it's time for the Superday. So the Superday is the culmination of your investment banking recruiting efforts. And first of all, I just want to say that you should be very proud that you've made it this far. Not many candidates even make it to a Superday. So many get cut at the first round. So many get cut during coffee chats before that. And so many don't even make it past a resume review or even an initial point of contact. So just congratulate yourself, first of all. But of course, we're not done with the work, right? We actually want to get the job. So what's next? The morning of your Superday, you should already have all the tactical and logistics related items prepared. You should know where you're going. You should know how you're going to get there and what time you need to leave in order to get there. You should also have your clothes freshly prepped and ready to go. So go ahead and get dressed, get ready, have some breakfast if you can. You're going to need the energy. At the very least, you might even consider bringing some kind of like a snack bar, or sometimes I just have little packages of nuts, like mixed nuts that I keep with me just to keep my energy up if I'm out and about and just doing a lot of things and there's not good access to food wherever I am. So just be mindful of whatever your needs are from like a physical perspective. Okay, now some Superdays are in a block of time in the morning, while other Superdays are during an afternoon block. So it just depends on the bank and how they've scheduled you in. Now, if you're knee deep in recruiting season, and especially if you're going through a school facilitated process and you're part of some kind of pipeline like that, you might have multiple Superdays on the same day. So you might have both morning and afternoon blocks. I would definitely recommend eating something ahead of time because you're going to have an intense day of interviews if that's the case. So before you leave your house or your hotel or apartment, double check that you have everything that you need. Make sure you have your phone. Make sure that it's reasonably charged in case you have to make a call or receive a call, hopefully that offer call. And also bring your Padfolio or your briefcase, whatever you have your materials in, such as your resume, scrap paper to take down any notes, pens, pencils, whatever. Now, one thing that it is good practice to do is to not bring your suitcase or your luggage with you. And I would also advise, don't bring a backpack. If you're staying at a hotel, you can usually leave your stuff at the lobby, even if you need to check out that morning. You're just going to come back for your things at the end of the day. Now, an important caveat here, this is something that I personally did. I did bring a suitcase to the bank the day of my Superday, but it was a unique circumstance because the bank booked me for a flight that left right after the Superday was over. So they knew I needed to leave pretty quickly and just go straight to the airport after the Superday was over in order to be on time. But this is a cultural thing, I think, between banks. This particular bank was pretty cool with me just putting it in a closet somewhere, and I wasn't looked down upon for that. But I'm not so sure how other banks might view that. So I think the safest thing to do, especially if you're interviewing in New York City, is leave your luggage at the house or hotel or apartment that you're staying in. And then, of course, you need to account for the time it will take you to retrieve your things. All right, now that you've got that out of the way, get to the office. You should have a buffer of time, but if you don't for whatever reason, just get there as quickly and safely as possible. Things happen, right? There's traffic, there could be weather-related issues, but hopefully everything just goes really smoothly, but you have got to get there. This is your big moment. Don't let it end before it begins, and make sure that you're a little bit early. Okay, now you're at the office. Now, usually you'll have to check in with security on the lobby level if you're in a really big building, say in New York City or Chicago or San Francisco or somewhere like that. You might have what's becoming more common is a QR code that you get access to via email ahead of time. Scan that to get access to the elevator in the building, or you might end up showing your ID to the people at the front desk. But get to the lobby of the bank itself, which is usually on another level, somewhere above the floor level. So then once you're at that level, check in with the receptionist, let them know that you're there, and there's likely going to be other candidates there waiting with you. So sit down, make friendly conversation with them. You never know who's going to be your coworker one day or your friend someday. And yeah, so that's what I would do if, that was my situation. And then eventually your name's going to get called. They're going to be ready for you. At this point, you're going to have your series of interviews. Now, in my experience, you might get either a printout of who you'll be speaking with and at what time, or you may receive an email with this information so you know what to expect. You know the name of the person who's going to interview you, you know their position within the bank, you know what time they're going to interview you. And if you do have time beforehand, this is one of those things that you can do a little prep work on the bank's website or even on LinkedIn just to see what this person's experience is. It might help you with some questions that you want to ask them. But if you have this information beforehand, great. If you don't, that's okay too. But you should get some kind of information or indication about who you're going to talk to. But I can't confirm that every bank does that. I just know that was my experience. All right. So now banks will typically have members of an entire team or group speak to you. So it's important to realize that you'll be talking with people at many different levels. Now, if you made it this far in the process, you've likely already talked to a good amount of people in your interviews, probably mostly associates and vice presidents. Now you're going to be talking to the entire team of the bank. So you're going to be talking to not just associates, not just vice presidents, but also directors and managing directors. So during my Superday, I was interviewing for an associate position. I didn't talk to any analysts. That may be different in the analyst process, but I'm not as familiar with that. So just know that you're going to be talking to a lot of different folks. Now, when you're sitting there beginning your interviews, remember that some of them may have multiple people sitting on the other side of the table. And remember that this is normal. Just treat it as if you're having a conversation with two colleagues. Some people get really tripped up when there's a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1 interview, but just imagine like you're having lunch with these people, or you're over at their house, or you're at a bar together. It's not that it shouldn't be too startling to you if you had a little bit of practice networking. So just keep in mind that situation could happen. It's not always going to be a one-on-one situation. And then as far as how to approach the questioning, guess what? Your preparation has prepared you for this. I mean, we've had over 260 episodes preparing you for this moment. So remember that you've got this. I won't add too much here in terms of nitty-gritty details because every bank is different. They have their own style. They're going to ask you different technicals. Some of them will have you do kind of like a case study, which is a little bit more closer to how consulting interviews are done. Some will focus heavily on behaviorals. Some will not. Some will ask you to do a paper leverage buyout and walk them through financial statements or build a 3-statement model. Like some banks get really into it. Some do not. So just know that the culture varies across different banks, but you should be prepared. You know, you've done the work, and just know that the different members of the bank who are interviewing you, they each have their own personality and their own line of questioning. Now, I will speak in generalities here in terms of advice. So in general, associates and vice presidents, in my experience, they're the ones who are more likely to ask about your technicals. They're more likely to ask about work experience. Whereas directors and MDs, the senior bankers on the team, they're more likely to ask about your background, why you've made the career decisions you've made, and why you want to come to their firm over others. And think about how this makes sense, right? The senior bankers, they're more concerned with the people, right? They're more concerned with bringing business in, relating with clients, making sure that the team is happy. Like they're the leaders. Whereas the junior bankers on the team, they're a little bit more concerned with execution, the nitty-gritty details, making sure that the math is right, so to speak. The models are correct. So you might get more questions from them based on technicals like discounted cash flow, leverage buyout, M&A, all of these things, just to make sure that you have the base level of knowledge that you're going to need on the job. So those are some things in terms of how to approach the actual Superday event. And yeah, just take your time. Sometimes there will be a scheduled break in the middle of your Superday so that you can, rest, use the restroom, get some water, whatever you need. Not everyone has that luxury. So just be aware that you may just be going back to back to back to back, talking with several people. I know in my Superday where I ultimately got the offer, I spoke with, I think it was eight or nine people. Over a 4-hour period. And so it was intense, but just be on your game, right? Like present yourself in the best way possible. Be your true self. Don't try to like fake it or be what you think they want to be, who they think you want you to be. Just really be true to yourself and know that your preparation has carried you to this moment. And by this point, all of your technicals, all of your behaviorals, the common stuff, it should just fly right off of your tongue. It should come out so naturally. And the person sitting there on the other side of the table should be able to see that. Like, okay, this person has prepared very well. They know what they're talking about. Now we can get to talking about some more different subjects. Like, why do you fit in here? That kind of a thing. If you are not performing well on some basic questions, that's going to create a sense of doubt in the interviewer's mind. They're going to think, maybe this person doesn't really have what it takes. Maybe they haven't really prepared. And then they're going to drill even harder on those things because you gave them some doubt. So don't leave any doubt. You want to come in there and just crush it. So I know you can do it. Your preparation has led you to this point. And then what's going to happen is the Super Day is going to end. Eventually, you're going to have talked to everyone who they wanted you to talk to, and they're going to say, hey, thank you so much for coming. We'll be in touch in a couple of days or a week or whatever it is. Typically, Super Days, you'll find out pretty fast within a few days, in my experience. And that's something I've seen in investment banking. I know other types of jobs, usually you'll hear back within 1 to 2 weeks, but investment banking is usually pretty fast in terms of the feedback. Because remember, you've talked to like everyone on the team, so they just need to get together and give their feedback, and it usually doesn't take too long. So once the Super Day is over, remember to just thank everyone for their time and quietly leave the building and just relax. You've done your job at that point. So that is the Super Day itself. And to wrap up this series, on the next episode, we're going to be talking about the offer. So I'll leave you with that. It's good to be back on the mic. I hope you're doing amazing. I'll be talking to you soon. This is Alex Mason on Investment Banking Insights. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.